Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Everquest Old School. And tonight we're playing on my Cleric, who is level 18 at the moment. And he's about 4 bubbles, and he's a little shy of actually being all the way there. Probably 1/5 of filling up that 4th bubble. And the experience here has been amazing so far tonight. I've done the last 3 or 4 videos here, and the last episode I gotta apologize. It was like an hour and something minutes long. It was a lot longer than I had intended it to be. But yeah, definitely went on rambling there, I'm sure, for quite some time, and I do apologize for that. I gotta try to keep up with the time, although I do kind of like having random long episodes here and there, because some people have actually asked for that, actually wanted to have longer videos, and then some people have asked for the shorter videos. So I guess the way I'm doing it is okay, but still, that was a pretty long episode. So for those of you who weren't expecting that, yeah, that was unfortunately, I think, way too long. I think it should be around an hour, not like an hour and a half, I think. I'm not doing a movie, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So let's see, what is this? Is this guy getting hurt? Yeah, he is. I think I can do an actual attack on him, which is my spell, Expulse Undead. And he resisted it, although my evocation has gone up to 50 since I've been here. He's actually pretty hard. What level is he? Is he red? No, he's even. He's even, and now that spell did 92 damage. You can see right here in blue on this little text box. And my evocation had went up to 51. So yeah, pretty nice to get a little break from actually having to heal all the time. And we do have another Cleric here, the one sitting right next to me over there in bronze and chainmail armor. And she came here wearing nothing but chainmail armor. And now she's wearing a lot of bronze. And I think all she has left to get is the pants for the bronze stuff. So this is a good spot to come for Clerics, because yeah, you get the undead spells that you can actually hit the enemies with, and you get a chance at a little bit better armor, specifically for us, because hopefully, you know, you're not wearing or trying to get bronze armor if you're going to be a caster. I mean, yeah, it's not the clothing you're going to wear. I think they can only wear cloth as it is, so you're not going to be able to wear that stuff. There are zones, though, like Befallen, that have creatures that when you kill them, they drop clothing armor. They drop the stuff that necros and wizards and things of that sort will find valuable over in Befallen at a low level that you can get, and kind of there's zones like that where you can go to Befallen and then go to another zone that drops like-minded stuff for your class. Now that kind of will spread out the classes in an uneven balance. You know, all the necros going to one zone and all the clerics and paladins coming over to Unrest to use their undead spells that really kick some series. But yeah, it does that to a certain extent, but there still is only a few zones out here that really take advantage of that. You know, you don't really get a spell too often that completely shapes your game experience on like where you're gonna go. You know, you get upgrades to spells you already had, and you know you're still playing the game the way you normally do. But definitely when you get something like that can be kind of not exploited, but taken advantage of a little bit more, because that's what it's there for. Obviously, you're playing a class where its lore is that, you know, for generations, forever pretty much, in the lore of clerics and paladins, that you were fighting the evil. You know, you're the good side fighting the dark side, and so you get this like innate ability to be able to you know, resist them or do more damage towards them because of that. I'll go ahead and root this guy. Yeah. And you can see I am actually playing my screen like this, so that you can see my guy is actually kind of centered in the middle of the screen. And I figured I'd do that to give you guys a different point of view. As I said, that can sometimes completely and totally change the way you perceive a room, especially if you're getting tired of the room because you've been there for so long. Now, I'm actually still having a really good time in this room. I'm not getting tired of it yet, but I know some of you guys might be, because, yeah, we've been here for a while. And yet, even with that said, we are leveling up so quickly. This is incredibly fast, so I may have to switch back and forth between different characters every so many episodes if you guys get bored of seeing the same room, because that's going to be a necessity that we have to just basically get used to. Let me change the angle so you can see what's going on. Because, yeah, later levels, you're going to be in the rooms for a lot longer than we've been here. Because, yeah, this is just really, really good. Usually, it may take you an entire session, entire 8-9 hours to get through, like, half your level. By the time you get to, like, level 35, maybe, level 40, it slows down quite a bit. Grosmer's robes basement. So I guess they're saying there's a robe down there that they don't need. It's a magic item, AC 8. That's a nice little robe. And it drops down in the basement, huh? We'll definitely have to go down there and check that out someday. It doesn't have any stats on it as far as like intelligence or wisdom. But as I said before, AC is the ability to block the damage that's coming in. Take less of it, Instead of them hitting you for 8 damage, they hit you for 2 or something like that. It can make a big, big difference. And for a caster who has very, very, very little health and probably even less AC, 8 AC is pretty nice to them. They will notice a dramatic difference when they're getting hit. Now, they still will get hit far harder than anybody else, but it's sometimes just that little bit that will save you to get you to the next zone or let you survive long enough to get that last hit off. And yeah, you'll notice the difference, and you'll want more of it. You want more of that because it does change the way you can play your game at a certain point. When you're right there on the line and you get that next piece of armor or that next little bit of power, which allows you to cast, just that one extra spell to heal somebody or to kill the creature. That's amazing, and all of a sudden now you're able to take on creatures that are higher level than you. Or in areas that you never were able to go before, and then you're like, yeah, I'll spend an extra, 5, 6, 7 hours in a certain area that may not have the greatest experience, just so that I can get that better piece of armor, because it does make a difference. Thankfully, in this game, they didn't go all out overboard. I mean, instead of for stats, because I look at where it went with like Everquest 2, and I'm not putting it down because I still play that game to this day. I do Let's Plays of it, but in that one, they went a little overboard on the stats, and the currency was devalued a lot as well. I mean, there's just so much cash on that server that, I mean, the prices are way overboard, and somebody just starting out is pretty much not able to buy anything good anytime soon, because there's just too much of it on the server. They need to find a way to pull some of it off so that items aren't going for, hundreds of thousands of platinum rather than just, hundreds of platinum. So let's see, we're going to toss a damage spell on this guy, do a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, it's just, on Everquest 2, the stats went overboard. They have some pieces of armor that have literally like 1,500 points of stamina on them. And that's just one stat out of like 15 other stats that are on there that are just as high. So when you go over it and you inspect it, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, you can go to my channel and you can see on my warrior I have raid gear, and when the new expansion came out, I was comparing some of the newer stuff, and it makes the old stuff look like garbage, but the old stuff had way too much stamina as it was. I think it had like 800 points of stamina before. Now it has like 1,500. I mean, it's crazy, and the stats are constant. So like when you hover above your item, it brings up the window that shows you what your stats are, and it quite literally goes from the top of the page all the way down to the bottom of the page, and it has little scroll wheels where you can scroll down all the magical stuff that it does, because it does like 8 things at once, and then you can add adornments to it, and if you get items of the same class and same set, it does these things, and it's like it's like reading a book on one item and looking at the stats. It's way too much, not too much information, because it's not. I can handle the information. It's just way too much power on any one item. Like, that should be the description of your character at the end of the game. That description that you get for one item, that should be your entire character's skill tree and its powers and weapons and all that stuff combined. Instead, you get all of that power on one weapon or one piece of armor, and then you still have all your other areas that you can put the same piece or even better pieces in those, and it's crazy. It's too high. When you tell me you have 1,500 stamina on one item, that lets me know right then and there that you try to always outdo yourself for every expansion you ever had. And I've talked about this in other episodes. When you try to outdo yourself, what that does is make the last expansion or the original game, if it's your first expansion, it pretty much makes all that content you came out with obsolete, which means nobody wants to go there. If you can't get good loot, and you can get loot that dramatically alters your playthrough of a game, then even if all you want is experience, you're going to have to go to that zone first and get the loot, which means everybody's going to be there. And you pretty much just kill all the old zones, because even once people start to get that loot and they want to go back to the old zones, they can't, because their friends may not have the loot left. And once people go back to those zones and they wait in those zones and they see that nobody ever comes back to them, they leave to go to the new zones to hunt where their friends are, and then their friends leave and come back, and you can see how it would just domino. Even though people want to go back to those new zones, nobody's ever there, and it just kills them completely. And that's what happened with this game. Not so much with this one, because they did a really, really good job. With EverQuest 2, though, not so much. I mean, nobody hunts in like Butcher Block and stuff like that. Most people will just bust through the beginning levels as fast as they can, just to get to end game, because there's nothing really for them on the lower stages, and your character is dramatically going to change with the loot you get at a certain point, and it's kind of like, why would I waste my time exploring and trying to get decent loot here and there, when really it's all going to get replaced by something that's just hands down, dramatically better. People were just like, don't waste your time, just get to the end stage. Really, that's where you want to go. So it kind of sucks, when you do it that way. I don't think it really works out to anybody's benefit, because you do want people, the whole point of coming out with new content is not to erase the old content, but give them something new to go to. And somebody just coming to the table should not just want to rush through to get to the new content you created. They should want to enjoy the old content as well. It should be just as relevant, And I don't know, it just seems like so many games try to up themselves every single time, try to up the tables, try to bring more hype to it and make more money off of it, when I think they really should be interested in the long haul. Sequels are huge nowadays. It didn't used to be the case. It used to be, if you came out with a new, really, really cool game, everybody expects you to come out with something completely different, but equally as successful. And that's kind of hard to do. But when you come out with a really good game nowadays, people are just hoping that you'll come out with an equally good game in the same freaking field. Like Halo, you come out with Halo, people just wanted another Halo experience, just better. You didn't have to come out with like a new storyline and new like game mechanics. You could use the exact same engine and everything. Just give us a better story. Just, if that's all you want to concentrate on, story, okay, it's the same game as before, which was awesome, and now I get a really cool story to boot. Or if you want to do pretty much the same story and everything else, and just concentrate on graphics, well, then it's that same great game, just with better graphics. That's what I'm saying. Like, almost all the work's done for you. You just have to concentrate and make one thing better. So I don't see why they're so interested in getting money right off the bat, and just forcing people to try out their new content because it makes the old content look like crap. And I think that's the only reason you would do it that way, is to say, basically, you bought the game, we got the money off of you, and now we're coming out with a new game that will make your game look like garbage, right? And if you don't upgrade to this new one, then you're going to be playing by yourself on the old one without coming out with a new game. It's like you're on an MMO, and that's the only thing I can imagine they're trying to say to you is, yeah, we want your money all over again, and we can't rely on you to just simply buy the expansion because it's good on its own merits. So we're going to force you to get it. Otherwise, we're going to make your playthrough completely obsolete. And that sucks. I wish they think about it the long run, whereas if you made a good expansion, people might come to your game not because they want to play the expansion, but because the game itself is now bigger. Instead of just 10 zones to go to, now you have 20. Instead of 20 new zones to on the next one, now you have 30. And the game gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's constantly people coming to it for the very first time. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to make all that money tomorrow. You can make it over the course of a month. And yeah, Hollywood does the same thing with their movies. They always talk about box office sales on the first weekend. And there's a lot of movies out there, like we were talking about it with Kevin on EverQuest 2 playthrough, The Big Lebowski, where that was one of those movies that completely and totally bombed at the box office, and yet it's become a cult classic. So on DVD sales, it has made an enormous amount of money. And yet when the people talk about it in Hollywood, they're always like, yeah, it was a bomb. And it's like, it wasn't. It paid off in the long run. How is that not a factor? Is that just bonus money to you that doesn't really get factored into whether a movie made you millions of dollars? Like, do I really care if I'm making, hundreds of millions of dollars, that came to me within a week or a month? I mean, why does it have to be that quick? I guess it's just that the kind of age that we live in, that it has to be like instant gratification. But people work their entire lives and never make $1 million. So yeah, if you have to wait a month for that, come on, man. I mean, how bad do you have to be to want that money, yesterday? That's pretty greedy and pretty ungrateful too, because yeah, most people don't ever make that kind of cash. So you guys should be just look at it in the long run, because you come out with a series, man, people stick with you for a long time. All these superhero movies, Everquest, this thing is still going strong. People were still here, so yeah, just treat your fans right. And I think a lot of these MMOs won't be just shutting up or closing up shop like they are now. It seems like you can get 10 or 15 new MMOs every year, and that same year another 10 or 15 of them will just disappear because there's too many of them, and none of them really stand apart from one another. They're all selling you the same goods, just with a different kind of gloss over it. And and none of them are connecting to the players on a personal level. They're connecting with them on that basic instinct of a gamer, that that looks cool, and that look, it's flashy, and there's shiny lights, and my eyes like that, the kid in you and everything, but it's not. Once you actually get into it, you're like, it's a good game, it's fun, right? And then you go to all the places you really want to go, and eventually you lose interest. You got to have something that not just, they're really good at hooking you, and getting you interested, and then they're it's very difficult for them, I think, to keep you, because they're not concentrated on the long run. They're always concentrated on what can we do to make a little bit more money. And I understand they got to make a living. They put a lot of time into video games like this, and they don't get paid probably nearly as much as they probably should, to be honest, even though they most of the time do get paid rather well from what I hear. But yeah, it's a hard job, and when you have deadlines, I hear it can be a nightmare for some of these people. So yeah, they should get paid, but it shouldn't be their sole concern. I mean, yeah, you gotta make a living, and you do gotta run a company, and you do gotta pay your shareholders and all of that stuff. But if it's your primary concern, eventually you're going to make a decision based off of how much it's going to cost your company, and whether it's going to be worth it for you in the long run. And chances are, it may be the right decision financially, but it will ruin you in the end because of it. I mean, EA kind of did the exact same thing when they decided to do, sorry guys, that day one content. No, not EA, for BioWare. I think it was actually, sorry, for Mass Effect. They had day one content, and people, started complaining about that and blew up really about that, because basically what it's saying is that you're buying a game that is finished, but a piece has been taken out because they don't like the fact that the price isn't what they want it to be. They can't get away with charging for $70, so they're going to charge $60 for the game and take a piece of it away and make you pay $10 for that, or something along those lines. I don't remember what the prices were, to be honest, right now, guys. But yeah, it's wrong. It was part of the game. The people who took it apart and looked at the coding and stuff, I remember them talking about it online. And I can't say that it's positive, but from what I remember, everybody was agreeing that this was the case, that they looked at the coding and they could tell that it was literally written in there, and there's a big gap missing. Like, it was written and then cut and pasted out of it, and nobody bothered to close the gap up, because when they looked through it, there's a big gap even if you don't have the expansion. And it's like, why would that be there? And then when you get the expansion and you put it in, you see that it fits perfectly in. So it existed ahead of time. And people were like, if it existed to that point where it was already put into the coding, then it was pretty much finished, and it should have been included into the content of the video game when it came out. So, yeah, people were pretty upset about that, and that just seems like a greedy mistake to make, because right off the bat, you know, you're angering the people who were the most passionate about your video game. You know, because those are the ones who are going to complain. Most of the other ones who are just like, I'll try the game out, and they see the price and they just add it into their head. That's the price. They buy it, and it's not that big of a deal. The people who are going to get angry, only this one page. No, okay, I don't want that. Sorry. The people who are going to get angry are the ones who are passionate about your game. And guess what, guys? The ones who are passionate about your game are the ones who have been talking about it on their Let's Play channels, or their blogs, or talking about it to their friends in person, because they're excited about it. The same thing you do when you're waiting for a movie to come out and you're excited about it. The closer it gets, the more you talk about it. It's free advertisement. They're giving you free advertisement. Why, oh why, are those the first ones that you feel the need to tick off for some weird creative license or a jab at nerd culture? I mean, yeah, we're very picky, and yes, we do get angry about the slightest things, but we also reward you guys by being incredibly faithful. We watch every little thing that you make, and we buy every little tiny piece of crap that you guys want to sell us, and we're happy about it. So why do you guys constantly pick on us and give us crap by needling us, obviously, with these little dime charges that actually add up to be quite a bit of money for the nerds who are already buying all your crap as it is? So, yeah, we don't mind, buying this stuff. We just don't want to be taken advantage of because we like your stuff. We can tell the difference, guys, and when you're being blatant about it, it's very, very obvious, even to the most, dense of us. And so, yeah, you try not to do that. You just tick people off for no reason. It makes your company look bad, and in the end, it's going to hurt your company, and you're going to lose money. You guys and companies are always so quick to say, we lost this amount of money, when all it was is that you didn't make that money because, yeah, there was a bomb scare during Christmas holiday or something like that at the mall. And so prices weren't, you didn't make as much money as you thought you were going to. And you always say, oh, well, we lost this amount of money, because you were assuming you'd make it. You guys are always willing to look in the long run for something like that. But when it comes to doing these stupid little tiny mistakes based off of money, you guys are for some reason unavailable mentally to realize that in the long run, we're going to miss out on making this amount of money. We're going to lose that much money because we're jerks and we're trying to nickel and dime people, completely and totally obvious. I mean, be a little bit more secretive about it. Try to make it where only the intelligence will see it, that whether you're being taken advantage of. But this blatant, and we'll provide download content so you can get an extra skin of a zombie hat. I mean, seriously? Why? What? Come on. I mean, seriously? $10 for a skin for a zombie hat? Man, we want to buy your stuff, but just don't. Just don't do that. That's stupid. Nobody give $10. Come on. The stupid little action figures and, things you sell on the store, they cost pennies to make, and it's a little tiny piece of plastic that comes with a little plastic gun, but people are glad to shell out the money because they like that genre, that video game, that series, and it gives them something they can take home and look at and actually have something to show that they not only like that series, but that they gave back to that series. But when you make this crap, this digital stuff that it doesn't show anybody except if you're playing and you actually have it on, and usually it's a piece of junk, and the only reason you're wearing it is because you bought the thing, and it's just, you want to give them something for their money. They're more than happy to pay extra because they know that it's going towards a show or a genre that they enjoy, and they want to give back, but they don't want to be taken advantage of. And yeah, so just be a little nicer and be a little bit more conscious about what you guys are doing, because lately you've been making a lot of mistakes when it comes to games like this, and because of it, like I said at the very beginning, they're closing left and right. They're literally just closing up shop. A lot of them are selling their old games off to other companies who will maintain them, and who knows how long that will be before something will fall apart. So yeah, just look at the long run, because these games can really keep going. I mean, look, this thing's been around since 1999, and it's still going strong in 2015. So, yeah, how much money could you have made off of that over that course of time if you hadn't ticked people off for the expansions, or just given them the expansions for free and let them buy content? You know, little skins or stuff like that. And I just ripped the skins apart, but on this, it actually would be okay because you're supporting the game while you're playing it by buying something like that. Whereas just making it the first time purchase, or, you know, after you've already purchased the game. If this game was free, I don't mind spending in-game cash because I haven't paid anything for it. And usually I'll pay what I believe the game is worth. So over the course of, you know, 3 or 4 years, I'd pay quite a bit of money, because that's 3 years of enjoyment, 3 years of time I spent at that game. I'm not one of those people who will just play it for free and never give anything back. I want to support my publishers that I really, really enjoy, so that they make more content of the kind of stuff that I like. So, and most gamers are the exact same way. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling on about nothing, but I think if they're just a little smarter, you'd have a lot more games like this that would be going on for a lot longer time. And that'd be freaking awesome. I would love to go on other servers that just had like huge amounts of people, and they've been there for years, and just try the game out for the first time with all these veterans and stuff. That would be pretty nice, because usually when people have been on a game for a long time, they're a lot nicer. They're no longer in a rush. They're not all about the loot or all about doing anything really. They're just there for fun and hanging out with their friends. Change the. I guess I can move around this way. Just trying to get you guys a clear view. Actually, we'll keep it over here for now. And as soon as this room is clear, this ghoul is about over here to attack me. We're gonna go ahead and end the episode. Now, if you do enjoy these episodes, please make sure to hit the like button or subscribe. It definitely helps grow this channel. I mean, it may not seem like a big deal, but a lot of the publishers won't let you actually review their game, or at least publish it on YouTube, unless you know, you are a big enough channel for them to really think that you can get out there and share the message. So we haven't quite gotten to that point. We're close to 100 actually, and that's going to be a big milestone. At 50, if you guys remember, I went ahead and gave out some codes to Heroes of the Storm. It was during its beta testing, which was a closed beta. So the only way you could get in was either to be invited by the publishers themselves, which I was lucky enough to be, and then have somebody invite you. And I was only able to do that once, and I was able to invite 4 extra people. And so I gave those codes out to some people who were subbing and some people who were leaving comments. You don't have to do both. If you guys just leave a comment and don't sub, that's perfectly fine, although I appreciate it if you do both, to be honest. But yeah, so I went ahead and randomly sent those out, so those people were able to get into the game ahead of time. It was just my way of giving back to you guys. When anything like that presents itself, whether I have a milestone or not, you know, I go ahead and give it out to you guys. But on the milestones, I try to find something a little extra special for you, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the 100 yet, so I'm still looking around, still seeing if I can find something. If you're a game publisher and you got something you want to toss out to the people, let me know. Send me a message. Hit me up, because I'm definitely looking for something to give away, but I will find something for you, because it is kind of a big number for us. Still growing channel, and I greatly appreciate all the views and all the likes, as well as all the support that you guys have given me. It's definitely meant quite a bit, so thank you guys for all of that, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Take it easy.